Welcome Chidambaram on day one, track four, third session. Chidambaram has 10 plus years of IT experience and has been working as an automation expert in designing, strategizing, and architecting automation testing solutions. Chidambaram would be speaking on Universal Test Automation Framework. Uh, Automation that is very hot in the market. So Chidamba would be speaking on the topic Universal Test Automation Framework. And if you want to if you want to know more about Chidambaram, you can visit the speaker section and check the interview of Chidambaram. So now the stage is yours, Chidambaram. I'll just stop sharing.
Yeah. Thanks, Nainraj. Very good evening to all the people who have been joined for this meeting. Thank you all, first of all. And yes, it's been on Saturday, and we are joining late in the evening. So just to bear it with me, I'll just make this session very interactive. And I just wanted to bring this session, I mean, the framework with a wider audience because we wanted to showcase that how this framework has emerged and enhanced a major client. So that's all I wanted to present to you guys. So this is the complete agenda. So where I'll be giving a quick introduction and what was the current challenges we have been facing earlier, and what was the approach we took, then what model we have brought in, and what are the technology stacks we've been using for implementing this, and the solution. And we can have a quick demo. I mean, I'll be showing a couple of slides with you as a demo, and we can take up some QA. Okay. Uh, so before introduction, I'll just quickly talk about myself. So I'm Chidambaram Vettruvel. I have close to 10 years of experience with almost 5+ years of experience with automation. I majorly worked for major clients for Xerox Corporation, and I'm currently working for Adidas Market Development Digital Comms. So I've been working for the two giant clients, one for the printer domain and one for e-commerce domain for almost last 6 to 7 years. So I joined this Dentsu World Services back in 2018, and I had an opportunity to start working with Adidas Digital Comms team. So you guys know, right? Adidas is a very big e-commerce platform domain, and they've been having a different country rollouts. So earlier they were been using an end-to-end testing, and with that they were having a problem with doing testing for all the locales and across all the markets with the different payment methods. So there we have introduced the concept of automation, and that's just revolutionized the entire I mean, the entire organization in the web commerce domain. So I'll just talk about a quick introduction of what it's all about. So we all know that automation is getting very hot on the topic, and people started learning automation just to improve the skills. But in real, if you wanted to do any automation for any site, it may be e-commerce domain, it may be a ticketing domain, food, whatever you name it or you call it. But the idea behind this to ensure that we reduce the effort of manual testing, and we enhance the automation testing. That's a complete idea. So we wanted to introduce a framework where it has to be in such a way that it can implement and integrate with any framework. So today I'm automating a couple of test cases for regression pack. Tomorrow I have an test cases on the visual automation. Then probably I need to develop a complete visual automation framework. Again, tomorrow, if I wanted to test any APIs related to my environment, again, I have to develop an API framework that with the Postman. So it was time consuming, and it also requires some skills actually. So we thought of having a common framework so it can be reusable, and it can be highly used by any tester with a very less level of knowledge, and also who's very good at in with the Java skills. So that's the basic idea. The only con which you can find is it requires a bit of skills to develop this framework. Okay, so the major advantage what we have developed after achieving this framework is it has reduced 70% of the total automation effort actually, and the regression cycle has been increased to 80 to 85% in every cycle, and we almost completed the regression pack with 3 sprints, with just to have to follow. So that was a major achievement period actually. So okay, yeah. So guys, the current conventional frameworks is just suited for a small web applications. Like we have very limited browser capability. We can't scale into a much huge requirements or develop it to something maintain like. So for developing a large complex applications with the different locales and different markets and different testing test standards, we always wanted a framework that enables us to develop in a very bigger way. So the existing framework is just supports only the functional test automation. If you take any TestNG framework, you can just run test cases with the functional test automation. And if you want to have a visual test automation, then you have to have another play with the other framework. And if you wanted to have an API testing, again, I said we have to have another framework. Even we are having a framework that is capable enough to do a load testing also. I mean, you know Gatling, right? So probably people know Gatling will be knowing this, because Gatling tool which can help to do us load testing as well as the API testing. That's part of the NFT. So these are the current challenges which we had in our project and which we wanted to overcome actually. So that's the idea actually behind this. So we wanted to follow an approach. So the approach is very straight and simple. So we just wanted to identify, we just wanted to integrate, and we just wanted to implement. So these are the ideologies we have. So in identify, we just wanted to make sure that we have proper folder structure, we have proper source control, we have proper checkpoints and validations, and how we are going to handle and use the test data, the libraries, the environment, the modules, and the scripts. So when you talk about the test environment, right? So being a very big giant in the market, we wanted to have this testing in 3 different environments. Say like we do have a staging environment. I mean, first starts with the development, then we have a staging environment, and then we have a production environment. So after development that's happening during the sprint cycle, we'll be doing a testing in the staging. And after staging, we'll be putting onto the production. Once the production it clears, it goes into the live. So that's how we segregate the environment and we can do the testing. So to integrate, we do have a test management tool, as you all know, like you are using TestRail, Jira, whatever you call it as. And we do have the CI/CD also. We are mapping the builds, and we are doing it with the via cloud also. And the most important part is the implement. So we do have proper testing standards and the coding standards. The coding standards, what we have been using for the testers is PAR along with the developers. So we do have a 2 level of code review. First level that can done by the peer-to-peer, then done by a QA lead, and the third level done by a QA architect. And we'll be having the utilities, and we're doing the build verification test, and we are doing the logging, and test reporting is also being done, as well as the parameterization. So let me explain you every single bit actually. So you know, this is the technology stacks we've been using. Like we do have Cucumber, that's very predominantly we have. Then we, you know, you guys know all, we are using Java, Selenium, and Python. I'll tell you why Python is being used here in the project, and SonarQube. So, as you know, SonarQube is used for inspecting the code quality. So we are using it here. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. Please be slow. There is a request from the audience that please go a little slow.
Okay, I got that. Guys, if you feel free, you can just stop me here anywhere in between. I am good to take. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Talk is so good. The only thing is you are running so fast, right? Yeah, little bit slow. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to ensure that I wanted to complete the major core part. That's why I was a bit rushing up. But sorry, I'll make it slow. Yeah, you guys know, right? We are using SonarQube for inspecting the code quality. So not only in the Jenkins, we also have the SonarQube quality plugin in the editor also. So whenever we complete any part of the code, we ensure that the code is following the standards. So this is the complete technology stack we have been using. So here comes the main part. Okay, now you guys know how automation framework works actually. So when you go to any market outside, they'll be telling you a page object model where you will have a step file, then modules and the pages. So that's the common part where you'll be learning wherever you go across the market or any organization. Yes, we are also using the same thing, but the main important part we are using here is we have divided this entire framework into 3 parts. So we have the core, we have this external systems, and third one is we have the application layer. So when I talk about core, right, all the basic functionalities part of your framework is written in the core framework. For example, if your Selenium wrapper class, your browser capabilities, all those things are being written inside this core layer. Next one is your external systems. So external systems is nothing but anything that needs to be automated but not to be tested. So I'll explain you what exactly this is. For example, like any third-party systems that, for example, a payment third-party system. So if you go across different countries, right, the payment methods will be different. For some country, you can find a PayPal, some you can find Yandex, some you can find credit cards. So those are the payment systems, but they are part of external third-party systems. So that can be automated but not to be tested or be part of this external systems. And third one is the application layer. As you know, all the application that you're going to put under the test falls under this application layer. The main idea of keeping this into a layers is that, so whenever if you wanted to, we wanted to have this as a plug and play. So tomorrow if I wanted to change my application, see tomorrow I'm testing a web application. So tomorrow I'm going to test any ticketing systems. Just that I have to remove the application layer from the structure and I have to replace with the one new one. My core and my external systems are not going to change at all. That's the complete idea. So tomorrow if I wanted to change any core systems, I'm going to change only in that code part. So either my application layer nor my external system layer are not going to get affected. So all the three layers are independent to each other, but they are interlinked to one another. So I'll be explaining you all the three layers in detail. So first we'll be talking about the core layer. So the core layer is the important and the basic layer of this. So when you talk about the core layer, right, the major important of the core layer is your all the Selenium wrapper class. So you guys know, right, all the Selenium wrapper class that is related to your Selenium test functionality are written in the Selenium wrappers and the browser capabilities. So you know, right, we've been doing this browser testing across different browsers, across the different desktop browsers against the different devices. So we'll be hard coding all these browser capabilities inside this browser capabilities function, and either we'll be using the hard coded value or the default value. And the Selenium grid, you know, right, we'll be running this test on the local browser stack and the browser stack which used on Jenkins. So we'll be having it the Selenium grid for three: local browser stack and the Jenkins browser stack. So all the three configurations of the Selenium grid are here. The main advantage of having the Selenium grid is we'll be starting our Selenium here and we'll be stopping our Selenium here. So whenever you run any application, the first part is it hits the core, goes to the Selenium grid, starts the grid, and once the execution done, it stops the grid. And the fourth one is the HTTP. It is just again a wrapper class where all the HTTP requests are being written here again, and the listeners. So these are the 5 functionalities that is part of our core, and it has been written inside this completely. So any question in the core here? So you guys know, right? So we'll be writing all the start function, Selenium wrapper class functions, everything will be written inside the core. As if you are working in automation, you'll be knowing that, right? So we are writing it here. The main purpose of keeping this way is, so tomorrow if I wanted to change any version, I mean tomorrow the browser capabilities of any browser is going to change, or if tomorrow if you can't test into the latest version of iOS, iPad, then I need to go and change the framework. Wherein here I'll be going and changing exactly in the browser stack configuration file. I'll change the default value to my intended value and I'll start my testing. That's the idea behind this. Any questions here in the code?
Sorry to interrupt. Lots of background noise is coming.
From my side.
Yes. Only you are unmuted. Everyone is on.
Okay. I think fan 1 minute.
Yeah, now
Is
it's
it fine?
fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's fan actually. Sorry. So any questions at the core layer here? Okay. So
Chidambaram, all the questions will be in Slido. Maybe you can answer at the end. Yeah.
sure. So the next one is the external systems. So as I said earlier, anything that needs to be automated but not tested should be part of this external systems. So for example, this external systems, we have split it into 4 layers, that is API, HTTP request, Selenium and Cucumber. So starting, whenever we wanted to test any application, the first and easiest, foremost thing which can we do is doing the API testing, because any functionality of an application will have an API. So the easiest part is you can go ahead there and you can test. For example, if I wanted to test a payment application, right? See, today I'm going to add a cart, and the product is going to add in the cart. From cart, I'm going to do a checkout, and once I fill all the delivery details, I'll be reaching the payment page. So I need to come all the way from the home page till the payment page to ensure my testing process. And here I'm going to do the testing. But whereas in API testing, I can directly hit the API of my payment gateway. I can send the response code along with the status body, and I'll be getting the output. So this is the fastest way of doing it. But if in case, if your application don't have the capability of doing this API testing, the next one is the HTTP. As you guys know, all the applications that has been written will have a HTTP wrapper class. We can use this HTTP. We can send the URL along with the body, and we can get the response. The written response, we can pass the written response into JSON or into XML, and we can test it. So this is the second advantage of using this one. Either you can go by API or you can go by HTTP. If in case if you don't
Hello, Chidambaram. I think we lost him, his connection.
Hello.
Yeah, Chidambaram,
Sorry, for a moment I got disconnected. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next one is Selenium and the Cucumber. So these are the 4 different layers we can be using to test our external systems. You can use any one of this to test your things. And next one is your application. As I said, we are using the same page object model. We've been using the step definition. We've been using the module, and we've been using the pages. So step definition is nothing but we'll be giving all the steps. The major advantage of using it in the e-commerce domain is, imagine today we have a different cart. For example, if I have a my account page, right? I have my account page, I have home page, I have cart page, I have checkout page, I have payment page. So you have different pages. So maintaining a functionality flow from first till last will be a bit complex. So we can be split that into modules, and we can have a common pages. So once I have my step, it will reach to my module and then to my page. As I said, we have been using the page object model. So all the Cucumber representation will be done in step definition file. And in the modules, we'll be doing all the user actions and data modifications. For example, if I have a drop down, right, in the module, if I wanted to select yes or no, I can convert this into Boolean, and I can perform this modification there in the module itself. So the page is the one where we'll be using all the selectors. Like we can use all the verification points, and we can use the particular selectors and the base actions and the assertions. So everything can be done here. So for example, if I wanted to have for instance, I have my account page. So my account page will have login functionality. You will be having the customer details and verifying the order history. So I might be having different parts of the page. So the best idea is to split them into small pages and just club into in a single package, and that for package can be used. So that's the better idea of doing it in application. The same way we've been using inside our project. So we've been splitting into core, external system, and application. Now the main advantage of having this is when I wanted to run any functionality for the given sprint. So today I'm running for a sprint for cart page module. So in next sprint I'm moving to the payment page. So I just need to have this delivery page as an instance before these two. But here we can have the module wise, and we can do a sprint, complete the sprint, have the code. So tomorrow when I switch back to the cart page, I still have the link. That's the main advantage of having this framework with us actually. So it helps us to move from a module at a given instance to another module without breaking the intermittent or the existing module. Yeah. Any questions here? Okay, so I'll move to the reporting part. So as you know, reporting part, before we move to the reporting part, right, I'll tell you how the test executions we have. So we predominantly use the Jenkins here as the continuous integration tool and the systems. So we set up an automated Jenkins job that has to be run on the nightly builds. You know, right, we've been a very big client. We've been using a different Jenkins runs actually. I mean, we almost have 20 threads running in parallel for one job, and we do have a lot of multiple jobs running in parallel. For example, at a night we'll be running almost close to 1600 jobs in night, and with the results will be updated in the morning. So we'll be using this Jenkins job, and we'll be running the tests in parallel actually, and we'll be almost running 20 scripts in parallel. So this parallel execution is completely based on the scenario outline, because since we have this Cucumber plugin, right, we've been using the scenario outline, and every scenario outline is executed as parallel, and we use different Jenkins jobs for all this. And next most important thing is we do have this browser stack integrated with the framework. So any test that has been completed will capture a proper video, a proper screenshot, and the network logs. So tomorrow if I wanted to see any failures, right, the main advantage of having this framework is in the browser stack you can see the video link of the particular test execution that is failed, the network log of the particular test case that has got failed, the screenshot of the exact point where it is failed. So either you can go to the link, you can play that video, and you can exactly narrow down and see where exactly it failed. Second, you can see the exact point on the screenshot where it will show exactly with the locator why it is failed and where it is failed. And third is the network logs, that has been linked to the Jenkins, and the failed jobs will be sending the reports back to the email ID of the developers as well as the testers.
Are you showing something, some screen? We are seeing only the PPT.
No, I'm just showing the PPT only. I'm talking about the
Okay.
entire part of the core part actually.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the next important thing is the Cucumber reports. So you know, right, we are using this Cucumber report since it's the future is very easy and it is enabled and it can be easily shown. So that's the reason why we are using this Cucumber reports. So the default Cucumber reports will have many infos. For example, you'll see the pass fail test cases.
Chithambaram, you are on mute if you're speaking.
Is it fine now?
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we are using Cucumber reports. So next comes the auto updates. So the auto updates is the most important part which we are using in our framework. So the current test case management tool which we are using is the test trail. So every time when a test automation happens, right, it creates a test execution on our test case management system automatically. So all the tests that has been executed in the Jenkins jobs will have a particular execution on the test case management systems. Because tomorrow, if I don't get a Cucumber report for any other reason, then we can straight away go to the test case management system and we can always get this report from the test case management system. So that's one major feature that we have implemented. So we have two ways of seeing a report. Either you can get the Cucumber report. If it fails, we can go to the test case management system and we can see, because every test case that has been executed will have a test link that is linked to the test case, and this can be done using the mapping with the CI builds. So in order to make this correlation very easy, right, we do have the mapping of the CI builds. So when the test execution is happening, right, we have a test execution number and a build number. Imagine if I have 5 test cases been running. So when I have this 5 test cases been running, right, every test will have a proper test case ID that is being reported on test case management system along with the build ID. So you can capture the build ID, go back to the Jenkins, get to the particular build ID, see the exact test case ID and see the pass fail ratio or why it is failed. And next most important thing which we have implemented is the concept called rerun. So today if I have 5 test cases, right, and I'm running 5 test cases in parallel for the first time, and out of 5, 3 test cases are passing and 2 test cases are failing. The failure reasons may be anything. It can be failed due to the script issue, or it can be failed due to environmental issue, or sometimes the test might not be picked also. Now, the concept of having rerun is the rerun feature will go pick only the failed test case and it will go for one more rerun. And if it's this time, even if it's pass or fails, no issue. We just wanted to ensure that the previous time it is not failed because of any environmental issue. Now there'll be a question like you'll be having 2 reports generated. On the first run you will have 1 report. On the second run you will have another report. Another JSON file. So what we do here in the rerun concept is we'll be clubbing both this report, and the output of the complete execution will get you only 1 report of the pass fail ratio. So this rerun concept we have implemented using this Python. So the reason behind using Python is, so you can do it across any programming languages. You can use Java, you can use C or C++. But the concept of using Python is we want to test our internal skills and the bench skills. That's why we have implemented this using Python. Okay. Now comes the important part. So why and what is the benefits which we have got using this framework? So now we have almost covered 80% of automation in the project. I mean, in the entire concept. So we have been doing this regression test, smoke test, sanity test across all the testing as a part of automation. So using this framework, right, updating the existing test cases has been reduced to 14%. That's a major number which we have achieved, and we have recently released a lot of markets, and we have seen a major dip of almost 14% down. So test scripts writing has increased by 23%. So this is achieved majorly because of that particular framework. So the main part is the core team will be taking care of all the deployments and the major functionalities. So tomorrow if I wanted to have a browser policy, like one market may have a different browser policy to run completely on Internet Explorer or Chrome or Mac Safari. So we'll be taking care in one particular module. And external systems, again I told you, we do have a different payment system testing team. Based on their input, we'll be testing it. Yeah.
We have only 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll quickly wrap it up. So the cross-browser testing has been easily achieved because our browser stack was very handy and we have completed it. And this framework can be integrated with any third-party payments. We have almost covered almost 87 payment methods across the globe for all the markets for the 40 locales. And it can be, as I told it, we have just scaled our framework into 40 locales. Now the test case is running for 40 test cases, 40 markets. So it's almost 40 into 1300. Just you can multiply and see how much test case has been running. And we are using the property files as to maintain the test data. And the manual regression team test efforts has been dropped to 32%. Earlier we had a manual test team comprises of almost 80 resources. Now we have shortened the entire team and it's now become 40 resources. So that's the major achievement we had. So I'll just give you a glimpse of how we have this. So this is the Cucumber test we'll be using to run our test cases. Like as I said, we have scenario outline. We'll be using the examples. This is just an outline of how we run the test cases in our project. And next is the Cucumber tags. So Cucumber tags is nothing but, as I said, we have a proper test case ID. The Jenkins job picks the test case based on the test case ID, and this configuration 1 and configuration 2 is based on the nightly builds. Some might have on the daily build, and some will go on regression, smoke, or sanity. Conf 1 is for regression, Conf 2 for sanity, and Conf 3 for smoke. Based on this, it will be picking again, and these are for the markets. So for example, some markets will be running only for particular instance, and we will also have a shared markets where all the common test cases will be coupled in shared market and will be running on shared. So this helps to pick the test cases and run test cases in fast. And next one is the folder structure. As I said, the major advantage is we can run on any environment. For example, I can run on development. Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, we can run on any sandbox environment like staging, production, or in the development environment along with the particular market files. So that's the folder structure we have for the staging environments. And this is the property files we've been using to to run on the jobs on the whole basis. So this is how we parameterize the test data. So any questions?
Yeah, we have questions on Slido. I'll just share my screen.
Sure.
Here is one question, if you can see the screen. So it's a must to use browser stack Sauce Lab since it's part of core.
See, browser stack is a different one and Sauce Labs are a different one. The main advantage you can see, there are two ways you can use. Either you can use screenshots to test your system, where the screenshots will be saved in the local project folder itself. But since the client is ready to pay, we have even used this browser stack because it's a paid one. So we can easily analyze the failure instantaneously and we can fix it. But you have to, it's not very dependent that you have to use browser stack or Sauce Labs. If you want to use, you can use or not. It's completely on you.
How can we get started with this?
Okay, so the major important thing is, see, if you guys know page object model, well and good. As I said, you can start clubbing this in a different way, like keep all the Selenium wrapper class, browser capabilities, Git configuration in the core, and keep the application separately and test it by integrating with the external systems. So this is how you can start framework. So what you can do is, like, instead of having your conventional framework in one model, one package, club it up into two different packages and try to integrate and start testing. That's how you can start with this.
Okay, so next question is where we can fit the logs.
Good one. So see, what we are maintaining here is, like, we do have a network mission that is placed, a global mission, where all the jobs of the particular Jenkins jobs will be placed under the mission directory folder itself. And the folder lasts for every 10 days. So after 10 days, the logs get deleted automatically. And this part can be done in a separate listener inside the core part.
Okay, so last question. We have only 1 minute left. So you have two questions. One is any GitHub repository which can help, and second is what are the current challenges still exist in your unified TAF?
Okay. Yes, we do have a Git repository, but I need to have a mock project for yourself. I think I'll be having and I'll be giving it to you as a part of this Git repo. First one. The major challenge what we are facing now is this framework requires a lot of knowledge because I've been working this framework for quite some time, so I know exactly where it is. But a new guy who's jumping onto a project and start working will find it very difficult since everything is, I mean, he needs a detailed understanding of what exactly the framework is all about. But if he understands, it's very easy to learn. That's a major point of this project.
Okay. Thank you for answering all the questions. Thank you, Chidambaram.